Once again, my name is Ed Zamora, and I'm from Principia Prep, organization that's actually done a couple meetings there for you guys. Today's meeting is going to be about the college, the senior college prep program is what we call it, which is basically us going over an outline to kind of make the process a little bit easier on you guys and kind of give you an idea of what stuff's coming up going forward. We're going to be going over essentially how to read the financial aid award letters, what's come to you guys, what they've given you, how to read it properly, because there is some nuance to it. We're also be going over the appeal process, asking for additional funds from the colleges, whether that be higher scholarship monies, whether that be more grant money, so on and so forth. As well as we're going to be going over the different loans available for you guys to help pay for the school, as well as payment plans. We will also go over finding additional scholarship funding when your student is in college, where to go, how to find it, so on and so forth. As well as we're going to be talking about future costs of college and how to kind of predict these things coming at the additional costs of college and what college will be going further down the line. We're also going to go over some legal documentation you should be looking to get done for yourself and your student to kind of cover yourself, both on the college financial aid side, as well as the health side of your student. We're going to be discussing those different forms you should be going out there and getting completed, as well as what to do if you've been waitlisted, deferred, rejected, and a couple other things that you might be dealing with nowadays, the families on today's call. That being said, let's begin by one of the other things a lot of parents have asked for, because I do about 80 to 90 high school presentations a year. So I get a lot of questions. So what I've been doing over the last basically year now, going all the way back to essentially February, end of February, early March of last year in 2020, is I've been making a lot of YouTube videos. If you guys want more stuff, more information about appeal letters, about making appeals towards the colleges, about gap years, about a whole bunch of different gambits of stuff that you guys might be dealing with in the world of college, if you just go on YouTube and just type my name in, Ed Zamora, you're going to see, I think now we have over 75 or 80 videos so far now of all different content for the college process, what's work study, how it works, a whole bunch of different things on there, why you take out federal loans, why you fill out the FAFSA, all these different videos I have on there. So if you want more college content, just go on the YouTube channel, type my name in. We have a lot of videos. This video actually we're recording today will also be on there as well if you want to watch it again. That being said, let's go over essentially a timeline of what you guys should be dealing with now going forward for, let's call it, let's say, the next 6 months or so. Now, at this point in time, you should have already received some acceptance letters. Some colleges your students are going to be going to or could be going to, let's put it that way. These colleges that have sent you acceptance letters should also be sending you what's called award letters. Now, one of the difficult things is a lot of families, good, bad, or indifferent, they kind of confuse the acceptance letter with the award letter. Now, there's a big difference between the two. And I'm going to go over an award letter in a moment, but the acceptance letter is basically a letter. It's basically a few paragraphs, says, congratulations, you've been accepted. We're also offering you, in many cases, this amount of scholarship money. That is not the financial aid award letter. That's them saying from the admissions office, you've been accepted, and we're going to give you some scholarship funding. There should be an additional letter that comes in the mail later on, or maybe online now because everything's going online because of COVID. There should be an additional letter online, which is called, or sent to you, called the award letter. The financial aid award letter should be sent to you as long as you've done the financial aid forms, which we'll cover today to make sure the checklist of the financial aid forms are all done as well. Because if you have not received a financial aid award letter, you may be missing some documentation, which we'll talk about in a moment why they haven't sent it. Typically, the award letter arrives 2 weeks after your student is accepted to the college. So if they got accepted a month ago or 2 months ago, you should already have the award letter sent to you, or maybe it's online, you haven't seen it yet. The next step in the whole, process is figuring out where your student wants to go. Now, many of you will have till May 1st, which is typically known as National Deposit Day, to deposit at a college, basically saying, we're going to university, this is where we want to go. Now, once you've deposited at that college, once you've given them a few $100, because the deposit typically is anywhere between $300 to $800, that's what you send to them saying, please lock in my spot. When you do that, you'll be receiving another packet called the welcome packet. Within the welcome packet, there's a few different things. Right off the bat, typically it has the bill, the amount due for the fall semester. So it shows you the breakdown of all the different components, the tuition, the room, the board, the books, the food, everything's in the tuition bill in the welcome packet. Also in the welcome packet, what all additional information will be about medical information. The medical forms you need to get signed, things you need to do, physical, so on and so forth, that will be in there. As well as any information about the housing. So if your student's gonna be living on campus, All the housing information will be there as well. The welcome packet also in many cases will provide you with dates for your students to do what's known as orientation days. The orientation days allows your student to kind of go to the campus, figure everything out, where everything is, so on and so forth, as well as dates for your students to take placement tests. Many of your students will have to take tests for math and English to see where they're going to be placed as far as different levels, math 101, math 102, et cetera, et cetera. So the welcome packet is a very important packet to looking out for once you've been accepted. In addition to the welcome packet, or sometimes within the welcome packet, the bill itself will be in there. Now, when you're getting the bill, you want to make sure that all the breakdown of the bill makes sense to you. Specifically, if you have health insurance for your family, first thing you need to do is make sure to call the school. And if your health provider covers your student while at that college, you want to make sure to waive the health insurance. The health insurance at most colleges will cost anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 a year. Now, if you're already covered under the parent's plan, there's no reason in many cases to take this additional health care. It's not going to provide any benefit in addition to what you already have typically. That's obviously a big discount, taking off $2,000 or $3,000. So that's one of the reasons you want to read through the bill and make sure that the health insurance is waived. In some cases, you have to provide them the health insurance card to allow them to waive it, but it's an easy way to start saving some money right off the bat, kind of take some money off the bill. Because if you do not waive it in the beginning, you cannot waive it any other time during the year. So if you didn't do it in the fall, you've already paid for the spring, unfortunately. So it's already in the bill. So you have to waive it before your student steps foot on campus. Big thing that you need to make sure to get done. Also, on top of all of that, in the bill will also be payment plans as well as options for federal loans to be paid or to take out for your student to be able to help pay for the college costs. Now, the payment plans in almost every college fall into three categories. You have either option number one, which most families end up doing, is you pay the fall bill up front, then you pay the spring bill later on when the spring bill comes, typically in December, and must be paid typically by the beginning or middle of January, beginning of February. Now, when I say pay, that means you can take out a loan to pay that amount. You don't have to pay it all up front, basically fall and spring. Second option of the payment plans are you can pay 4 fall payments, so 4 months you're paying every month, and then 4 spring payments, so a total of 8 payments. That's one payment option. The third option, or essentially the second payment option through the payment plans, is you can pay over 10 months. Now, the 10-month payment plan typically starts early on, usually in the June or July timeframe before your student starts on campus. Usually the payment plans start so they end in April, so that way that you can kind of pay everything off before the May end of the semester, end of the term year finishes, all families have paid out. That's why they usually end everything in April to make sure that before the student leaves, they're all paid for that semester. That's one option you have, obviously, is a payment plans, pay upfront, i.e. take out a loan or out of pocket, as well as the 2 payment plans of 8-month payment plans or 10-month payment plans. I'm going to be going over all this stuff as well throughout the presentation in more detail too, if you're wondering. In addition, for the payment plans, you have typically until mid-August to decide on the housing. Now, what I mean by that is, let's just decide you are deciding between going to live on campus or not live on campus, and you make a deposit for the housing. You can always go back and essentially say later on in June, July, even up till mid-August, say to the housing department, we are not looking to do the housing for whatever reason. Could be COVID related, could be you want your student to be closer to home, whatever it may be, you can change your mind typically up until August 15th on the housing situation. Now, one key thing that I tell all families, all seniors I deal with to talk to, or pretty much any high school I go to, the worst thing you can do right now in the March, April, May, basically June timeframe, the next 4 months, the worst thing your student can do is start getting senioritis. Every one of your acceptance letters, all of them, whether you've been accepted to Harvard, whether you've been accepted to CUNY or another state school outside the state of New Jersey, New York, or Connecticut, where most of the families we're talking to here tonight on the presentation are from, every school's acceptance letter will say the same thing. This acceptance is contingent on you basically graduating high school in the same level that you were at before. So if you have an A student, all 3.5 years, let's call it, of high school, and all of a sudden a student starts getting a lot of C's, a couple D's, maybe a couple F's, that school can rescind your acceptance. So you cannot get senioritis right now. If you want to kind of slack off a little bit, understandable. You've been through 3.5 years of high school, SATs, ACTs, state tests, and everything else. I understand it's a lot of pressure, a lot of stuff you've been dealing with, but you cannot lose sight of the goal at this point in time. I have, by the way, I've been doing this 23 years in the college world. I've seen colleges rescind offers because students have dropped their GPAs, have failed classes, et cetera, et cetera. So your acceptance can be rescinded. So senioritis is like probably the most important thing to avoid right now is senioritis across the board. That being said, let's talk about the financial aid checklist, which a lot of families don't realize. After you do the financial aid forms, after everything is done, you're typically not completely finished with everything. And this is what I mean. If you have not yet, if you're on the call today, if you're watching the Zoom meeting here, if you have not yet done the FAFSA form, you have to do the FAFSA form. If you're wondering, I made too much, or I was told I made too much, whatever it is, you always fill out the FAFSA form. I've been doing this 23 years. I do 80 plus high schools a year. I probably see 10,000 families a year, either through the videos or the presentations they typically do in person, if it wasn't COVID related scenarios we're in, and the families I help out and everything else. And I would say that almost 99% of the families I talk to, and I deal with incomes of everything from negative incomes to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on tax returns. And they all do the FAFSA form, because you do the FAFSA form essentially as an insurance policy, just to cover yourself just in case something happens. Even if you know you're not gonna get anything, just do the FAFSA form. If you haven't done it yet, go do it. In fact, if you go on the YouTube channel, I'll have a video, 7 reasons why you do the FAFSA form, no matter what. Just watch that video if you wanna know why you do the FAFSA form, because I'm not gonna get into it now. I talk about it in the fall presentation, but this is a different presentation. That being said, the FAFSA should already be done. If you are looking to stay in the state you reside in, whether you're in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, etc., Pennsylvania, whatever state you're from, what you want to make sure is that you've also done the state form. Now, for the state of New York, you have to fill out the HESC form, which typically provides or requires you guys filling out somewhere between 70 to 80 questions for the state of New York if you're eligible for state aid, i.e. stuff like Excelsior, so on and so forth. And by the way, I'll be talking about that stuff in the next slide for the new people on the call today. For New Jersey, you have to do what's known as NJ-FAMS, the New Jersey form. Now, for New Jersey families, this year, NJ-FAMS, also known as HISA, H-E-S-A-A, that's the organization that houses the NJ-FAMS situation, forms, everything else, the state of New Jersey. For HISA, they actually eliminated the financial aid questions at the end after you do the FAFSA form. So you no longer have to do that for New Jersey, but for New York, you do have to fill out those questions. Same thing for Connecticut, and same thing for the Pennsylvania families. You guys have to do them as well. Now, when it comes to after the FAFSA, after the state forms, some of you will have to fill out the CSS profile form. If you're not sure which forms you need to fill out, you've already done the FAFSA, you've already done the state form, very simple. Call the colleges your student's looking to apply to, or has accepted to, or is looking to maybe still apply to, even though you're running out of time. Make sure that you already have all their forms taken care of. There's nothing else you need to take care of, like the CSS profile. Like in New York, if you're looking to go to NYU or Columbia or Cornell or New Jersey, Stevens Institute of Technology, these schools are required the FAFSA, the state form, and the CSS profile form, which is on the College Board site. Also, this is the other checklist that most families, unfortunately, do not realize are required in the world of financial aid. After all the financial aid forms are done, many of you will have to fill out forms for a process called verification. If you had a school on your financial aid list that you fill out all the FAFSA and CSS stuff for, if you fill out the CSS, you probably had to do what's known as the IDOCs. The IDOC, the Institutional Document Center, is basically the College Board's way of saying, send us a copy of your taxes. So make sure if you did the CSS profile, go back on there, log back in as a student, and double check. Did we do the IDOC, or is it required and we haven't done it yet? Because if you don't do the IDOC or any of the other verifications that I'm about to talk about, you're not going to be sent any award letters because they're waiting for documentation. In addition to the IDOCs, you have 3 different levels of verification. So you have 4 in total. IDOCs if you did CSS, as well as federal verification, state verification, and institutional verification, i.e. the school wanting more forms. Contact every college your students apply to. Ask the financial aid office, do you require any additional forms to the information we've already sent you? If they say yes, ask them who's requiring the information. If the school says to you, We have you in federal verification or institutional verification. That means you send all your tax stuff to the college. If the school says you're in state verification, it means you send it to your state agency. New York goes to HESC. The New Jersey people go to NJFAMS. And when I mean send it to them, I mean you do it all online. So you send it to that level, that basically website is where you're sending it to. If you're not sure where, ask the financial aid officer. They'll tell you right over the phone, where you need to send it to and who is requiring it and what they're requiring. And we have a question just popped on. Let's see, how do you fill out the HESC? Good question. For New York residents, for the New York stuff, I'll just go to the next slide, actually. It's right here. This is the next slide I was going to tell you guys about, because I'm going to talk about Excelsior in a moment. For the New York residents, you guys have to go down here, which says, actually I have the link at the bottom here. Hopefully you guys can see the link. HESC.newyork.gov/pay-for-college. This is where you guys need to go if you have not connected to the FAFSA. And this is what I mean by connected to the FAFSA. At the end of the FAFSA form, you're actually at the end get a confirmation screen. On the confirmation screen of the FAFSA, it gives you a chance to link right to the HESC, as well as New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania people. It'll give you the state link to go right to the state site and link your information and answer the other questions. If you didn't do that when you did the FAFSA the first time, you can't go back into the FAFSA. It only gives you one shot on the confirmation screen. What you need to do for New York residents or anyone else watching, if you didn't connect it to the FAFSA and answer the additional questions for the states, you have to go to the state required site. So for the person asking about New York, this is a New York site and this is where you need to go. And the reason I have this New York site up specifically is because of COVID, unfortunately, good, bad, or different, everything still keeps being delayed. This includes New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut, by the way, people on the call for that. I just don't have New York on here, but New York is actually a little bit more of a tenuous situation for a few reasons, but I'm not gonna get into that. That being said, for the Excelsior program and some other New York programs out there, if you're looking for additional help and you are eligible for Excelsior, and for those who are wondering, Excelsior basically means you're a New York resident graduating in a New York high school who's looking to, who has an income too, by the way, an income of adjusted gross income of under 125,000, then you're technically in the realm of being Excelsior eligible. They're not sure if they're going to do Excelsior or they're going to do Excelsior. They're not sure. They're on the fence. Do it or not do it. Free, basically free college for New York residents in New York. For certain colleges, not Ivy College, but in New York, but for most of them. Now, when it comes to Excelsior, they're supposed to have the applications out already because the applications for Excelsior are typically due in April. So we're getting pretty close to the deadline. So what's happened is if you go to the website below that I have here for New York residents, you log in there. The one thing you want to do if you think you're eligible for Excelsior or looking to stay in state and looking for state aid, once you go to this website here, plug in your email. So you see here, it says to provide them your email and click subscribe. They'll send you notifications via email when, or hopefully if, but maybe not if, but hopefully when the application is up again and the state of New York is funded and able to do the Excelsior program going forward and some other programs in New York as well. This is where you guys need to go for New York residents. For New Jersey residents, Connecticut and PA residents, you guys don't have this issue, let's put it that way. Those three states, I guess, are a little bit more, I guess, ahead of the curve. I don't want to say ahead of the curve, but a little bit more, I guess, ready for the upcoming fall semester. New York, unfortunately, has not gotten their stuff in place just yet for you guys, but hopefully more likely it will be in place sooner than later, so you guys should be okay. But for New York residents, have to go to this website, have to give them your email, have to subscribe to get yourself ready just in case something goes on later on, which I'm pretty sure New York's going to get everything back in order very shortly, but obviously with COVID, everything is being delayed, good, bad, or indifferent. That being said, for New Jersey students, this is your site here, NJFAMS. If you did not connect the FAFSA to HIPAA at the end of the FAFSA form on the confirmation screen, well, there's the website down below for New Jersey residents. For New Jersey residents, you have to go to njfams.hisa.org. Excuse me, rest of the link there. You go here and you log in, basically create an account, and you begin by checking on your to-do list. Do I need to do anything? Do you want any tax information, my W-2s, 1099s? Do you have any questions that I maybe didn't answer on the FAFSA that you want information about? All these things need to happen for New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut families on the call today. This needs to get done as soon as possible for New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut families because these states are typically the hardest hit on the financial side, obviously because of COVID. So it's very likely that if you're even a minute late with any of these forms, they're probably going to reject you financial assistance. I've seen it for 23 years of doing this, and this is before a pandemic hit, by the way, where families have been rejected because they missed a deadline, missed sending in a form, a W-2, just random stuff, and they've lost out on tons of free financial assistance, grant money, financial programs, so on and so forth. So you don't want to get stuck in that mix, okay? That being said, let's talk about the financial aid award letter. So let's say you got accepted. Let's say everything is in, the Fafsa, the verification, you finished everything. And then you get this here, the financial aid award letter. So let me go through a financial aid award letter and kind of dictate each different step, each different facet of it, and kind of give you more of an insight of how kind of to read them, look at them, so on and so forth. Now, right off the bat, the financial aid award letters have not changed that much. They started calling them now the shop sheets, which looks a little bit different than this, but they're basically the same thing. Now, right off the bat, what you're going to notice about the financial aid award letters is right off the bat, it's going to tell you guys what the cost of attendance is. That's a very important thing to know. The cost of attendance is essentially what the cost of the school costs, everything included, which you'll know all the stuff if you watched my other videos, or if you watched, if you jumped on the videos in the fall when we did the presentations for the high school as well. Now, the second thing you're going to see on most financial aid award letters is going to give you your expected family contribution number. Now, the expected family contribution number is essentially what they think you can pay towards the cost of college. So you take that off, and it's going to show you this is the remaining amount that we should hopefully try to help you with the bulk of, or at least a majority of this. Right underneath that, so you already know right off the bat how much the school has space available to help us financially speaking, because we know what the cost of the school is, we know what we are supposed to pay based on the EFC, based on the financial aid forms you filled out. What's left over is what the college can help us with financially. Now, here's when the breakdown really kind of takes hold. Now, as you can see on the screen here, we have a breakdown of a few different items that you'll be going through. Now, what you want to know, what you want to realize is, as you're going through the award letter is, where's the free money, where's the loans, and how much is the work program? Now, every financial aid letter will have the entirety of your financial package. So if you got a scholarship from the acceptance letter, it's going to be on here as well. If the school is willing to offer you a work program, it's on here as well. If the school is offering you grant money, it's also on here. You want to go through this and make sure that anything you were promised, scholarships, grants, any kind of stuff like that is on this letter. This is also the starting point, by the way, of all appeals, which I'll talk about appeals basically in the next slide. So this is a key to start the appeal process if you're looking for more scholarship funds, more grant money. Right off the bat, one of the asterisks that most families don't realize is some of the colleges you're dealing with at the bottom of this letter will put on there what's known as a plus loan or a private loan. They'll show you a certain amount, like on this letter here, you can see estimated plus or commercial loan, technically private loan. What that is basically saying is the college expects you to go out and get this loan. Or essentially it's their way of saying, after all the aid we give you here, the grants, the federal loans, everything else, the scholarship money, this is the exact amount you're essentially paying to go to this college. That's really what that loan is there. And what most families don't realize is if it says plus loan or parent loan or any other kind of loan name on there, it's not a real loan. It doesn't exist. It's just the college's way of saying, this is the remaining balance you'll have to pay to us after the financial assistance we've given you. Now, another thing to look on the award letter is how much work study have they given us? Now, over the last 23 years, I've seen obviously an increase in the amount of work program money the school's given you. Now, if you don't understand what work study is, I also have a video on that on YouTube, so I'm not gonna get too into it. The YouTube video about work study is like 5 minutes. All my videos are very short. Now, when it comes to work study, if the school has given you, let's say, $3,000 or more, that's something I would consider appealing, because anything more than $3,000 is a lot of hours worked by the student. So I would probably look to negotiate that, maybe try to swap that out for grant money, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, the appeal stuff. That's one of the things to kind of look at. Also, on the award letter, what I'm looking at is to see how much space I have available in need. What I mean by that is this. If the school costs, let's say, $50,000, and in total financial aid, the federal loans, the grants, the scholarships, and everything else, they gave me $20,000. But let's say the FAFSA said I can only pay 10. So the school costs 50, FAFSA says I can pay 10, so I have $40,000 of space for financial consideration. But the school only gave us $20,000 of financial aid. So in the back of my mind, I already know before I even start an appeal, we have $20,000 of space available to basically start the game of appeals, which brings us to the appeal process. Now, when it comes to the appeal process, And by the way, I also have a video on appeals as well on the YouTube channel, but it's 30 minutes long. But it's 30 minutes long for a reason. I'm going to keep you guys here 30 minutes on this one slide, by the way. It's going to be like 3-4 minutes. But if you want more information about appeals, once again, just watch the YouTube video. I do all the YouTube videos because it's a lot easier for me to get information for you guys out there if you watch the other videos. Now, when it comes to appeals, what most families don't realize is there's basically 2 types of appeals, or I guess 2 categories that break into other categories. But the 2 main appeals are you're either doing an admissions appeal or you're doing a financial aid appeal. And this is where the breakdown happens. If you're looking to appeal your scholarship, let's say the school has offered you a trustee scholarship of $20,000, but you know the next level is a presidential and they offer $30,000, then if you're looking to appeal and get more scholarship money, you do that with the admissions office. If you're getting grant money from the school, and the thing we talked about in the last slide, let's say you had $20,000 or a certain amount of space available in need where you still have space available to get grant money, then you're appealing with the financial aid office. So you have to know which department you're appealing with. Scholarships, admissions office. Grant money, financial aid office. That's just kind of start the process. Now, when it comes to appeals, scholarships versus grants, typically grants always win because of a few reasons. Sorry, scholarships always win for a few reasons. Scholarships are typically 4-year guaranteed money. That's why they're the best. Also, scholarships are irrelevant of how much income you make or don't make. Scholarships don't care if you're a millionaire, a billionaire, or basically have no money whatsoever. Scholarships are always based typically on merit. Academics, typically GPA, SAT scores, back in the day, not so much right now, but classes taken, so on and so forth. That's what that comes from scholarships. Scholarships also technically have no limit. And what I mean by scholarships have no limit, I mean this. Let's say the school costs $50,000, another example. So you fill out all the financial aid forms. And the financial aid forms say you can pay $60,000. So technically you have no financial need there because the school costs $50,000, the form says you can pay $60,000, so you can actually pay more than the college costs. You have no room there for grant money. However, you can still get a scholarship. Scholarships are irrelevant of the amount of need you have, which is a benefit in the case of families that have a larger income. Now, there's 2 ways to appeal a scholarship. Number one, I had mentioned before, let's say you get a trustee scholarship of $20,000, but you know that there's a higher scholarship of, let's say, the presidential scholarship that starts in the 30s. One of the appeals you can do with the admissions office is ask them, can we be reconsidered for the higher scholarship level? That's option number 1. Second option to appeal a scholarship from the admissions office is use an offer from a competing college or another school that's giving you more scholarship money. Basically, go back to the admissions office. Thank you for the, let's say, $10,000. We appreciate it. We want to come to your school, number 1 choice, but we want to make you aware that school number 2 we're considering, maybe our second choice, has given us $20,000 in scholarship money. Once again, if you want more information about that, just watch the video I have on YouTube. It goes way more in depth. Financial aid side now, let's talk about the financial aid appeal. When it comes to financial aid appeal, it is need-based. So you have to have financial ability. You have to have a space available for them to be able to give you money. Now, let's say you fill out the financial aid forms and the school costs $50,000. You fill out the forms for seniors now with 2019 taxes. Let's say you fill out the forms and you're showing in 2019, you can pay $60,000, but you lost your job, or you have huge medical bills, or furloughs, or everything that's happening with COVID and everything else that kind of just went south because of everything going on. What you guys need to do is you need to do a financial aid appeal that needs a professional judgment. What that basically means is if your 2020 taxes are way lower than your 2019 taxes because of the things I mentioned before, income situations, medical bills, whatever it may be, whatever's affected your income, as long as there are 20% effect on your income, basically 20% drop or more, or things affecting your income such as medical situations or family situations, whatever's affecting you financially, you have to do a professional judgment, basically an appeal, get that done through the financial aid office. And to do that, you have to deal directly with the financial aid office. There's probably going to be additional paperwork. They're probably going to need verification from you. They will need 2020 taxes, but they can look at you guys as a way of, one way of doing the appeal through the financial aid office is to basically have them look at the 2020 taxes over the 2019 taxes if there's a big drop in the income, or if there's medical issues, divorce, separation, unfortunate death of a parent. These are all reasons to go back to the financial aid office and ask for additional help. That's if these things have happened. Now, if you have space available, they haven't been covered, That's the second appeal you can do with the financial aid office, by basically going back and saying, thank you for the acceptance, thank you for the grants, thank you for everything you've given us. We want to come here, but we have a lot of space here left over in financial need that we need help with. So 2 appeals you can do for admissions, 2 appeals you can do for financial aid. Once again, I am videotaping this, so this will be on the YouTube channel if you want to watch it again, but those are the steps to take. For more in-depth stuff, watch the appeals video we have on YouTube. It's 30 minutes long for a reason. It's probably my longest video other than the presentation to do here for you guys. Now, we talked about the award letters. We talked about the timeline you're gonna be going through as far as from March, basically until you drop the student off in August. Let's start talking about one of the ways to pay for the college, which obviously is loans. Now, every single student is going to be offered federal direct loans in the sum of $5,500 for freshman year, as long as you did the FAFSA. That's all it's required. You did the FAFSA, you submitted it, the school is automatically going to offer you $5,500 in federal loans. I'm going to break down those federal loans in a moment. But first, if you do want those federal loans, you must accept the federal loans on the award letters and go to this website here, Studentloans.gov. Here, you must sign in as a student using the student's FAFSA login. By the way, I have a video on this as well. And you have to complete, technically the student has to complete, what's known as the master promissory note and the entrance counseling paperwork. Both the entrance counseling and the master promissory note, both these things must be completed to be able to get the $5,500 federal loan from the college, because that's technically the government providing you money with an outside lender. So you have to do those 2 forms in addition to accepting it on the award letter. If you want to go on this website, it's good for information also, not just on your students' federal loans, the federal direct loans, but also on the Parent Plus loans. The Parent Plus loans are one of the ways many colleges, many families actually fund the college education of the student. Now, when it comes to the Parent Plus loan, you as a parent can actually go on the site here, Studentloans.gov, and sign in yourself using your FAFSA login to apply for a Parent Plus loan. Now, the Parent Plus loans are in the parent's name only. I'm going to be discussing that in the next slide. I'm going more in detail on that. But also on this website here, Studentloans.gov, for both the student and the parent, there's a lot of great information about loan forgiveness, loan deferment, for repayment plans, forbearance. Everything's on this site. It's great information. Anything that gets done by Congress and the president and everything else going forward, by the way, will all end up here. So if you want to know more information about what's going to happen, just go here. It's going to have all the information on this site here. That being said, let's break down even further what the federal loans are that your students already been basically provided with. Doesn't mean that they take them. You don't take it $5,500. Doesn't mean they have to take it, but it must be offered to your student as long as you do the FAFSA. You don't have to take it, but I'm going to go through how the breakdown of the federal loans work. Right off the bat, your student will be provided typically 2 types of loans. It's still the same federal direct loan, still the same $5,500, but it breaks into 2 categories. So most families break into the 2 category scenario, okay? And this is what I mean by the 2 categories. Of the $5,500, $3,500, a bulk of it, will be subsidized, which basically means interest-free while your student's in school, because the federal government's technically paying that interest. The unsubsidized portion, basically the $2,000 remaining, you can accept either one, by the way. If you want interest only and not the interest bearing, you can do that. Or you can accept both or neither. It's up to you. On the unsubsidized amount, the $2,000, that interest is growing at a rate of 2.75. They're both basically 2.75. Only the federal government's paying the subsidized portion, obviously. Now, of the federal loan, I typically tell students to at least look at taking the subsidized portion because technically it's interest-free, okay? Now, when it comes to sophomore, junior, and senior year, the loan does increase by $1,000 each year. $5,500 freshman year, $6,500 sophomore year, $7,500 junior and senior year. Now, when it comes to the parent loan, which I mentioned before, because a lot of colleges will put that on the award letter to make it look as a loan there, but it's really not. It's just their way of saying this is one of the preferred lending, tools we like families to utilize. For the parent loan, I like it and I don't like it. I like it because it provides easy access to additional funds to help cover the whole college expense for families, and it's got the lowest credit requirement. Typically, a family with a credit score 620, 630, it's not easy to get the private lenders to give you a loan at that rate. A lot of the federal loans, the Parent Plus loan will typically accept you at that low rate, low credit score, let's put that way. Now, the difficult part about the Parent Plus loan is, for me, it's in the parent's name, which means the student has nothing to do with this debt whatsoever. So the students want to help you pay it back. They don't have to help you. It's technically your own private loan. Another unfortunate aspect is the Parent Plus loan interest rate starts at 5.3%, which is pretty high, especially even for this environment we find ourselves in. That being said, in addition to the high rate, they have a 4.3% origination fee, which means you're paying 4.3% for any money you take out right up front as a fee, unfortunately. So what's left? Well, you have a bunch of different lenders out there. You have Sallie Mae, Discover, Citizens Bank, so on and so forth. Now, the best thing about the private lenders is you can put the loan in the student's name. They're going to need a co-signer, by the way, because no lender will let your student take out the money until they're age 24 and making at least $50,000. It's kind of like their cutoff. So there's no way your student can get any loans by themselves. If anyone says they can, other than the federal direct loans, it's impossible. I've been doing this 23 years. It doesn't happen, okay? Now, what we have is, if you want to, at the end, I'll give you my contact information. Every June or so, the lenders come out with the rates, typically around June 15th, which is kind of coincides with the bills, the college, everything kind of links up. If you need help with the loan stuff, all you need to do is either email me or call me. I actually create a top 5 list. And my top 5 list is just based on who has the best rate and the best terms. I just email that to anyone who wants it. So if you're looking for loan help, you can basically just email me, Ed, can you send me the list of the top 5 lenders? Because each year I do it, because each year it changes. So this year, technically, the private lenders are the better way to go. Usually the federal is a better way to go, or sometimes the state loans are a better way to go. But this year, the private loans are starting at 1.25% interest rate. I mean, you just saw Parent Plus loan is 4 times that. So the reality is the private lenders are the better rates right now. So, but if you want loan help, or if you're looking to take out a loan, just email me. I send everyone, here are the top 5 based on rates. I even break down why the top 5, okay? That being said, let's talk about, once your student's in school, other things you need to be doing to help reduce the cost. Other scholarships. Now, one thing you need to realize, obviously we talked about in this beginning, the admissions office handles all scholarships up to a certain point. Once your student's accepted in the college and then is a matriculated student, i.e. they're on campus or taking classes, so on and so forth, that's when the admissions office doesn't do anything for you anymore. At that point, the financial aid office takes hold. The financial aid office basically controls all scholarships for continuing students. That's why you would call it continuing scholarships. I classify that differently than entering freshman scholarships. Now, this is the key here. The one thing you need to do is, if you haven't done so already, is contact the admissions office and ask them, do you have any scholarships for students who are continuing their education at your institution? I.e., if my student makes a dean's list freshman year, are we eligible for more scholarship money at your college? They're all going to say no, by the way. And this is why they're going to say no. And you're probably wondering why you just told me that to do that if you're not going to say no. This is the way scholarships work in the world of college. If they give you a scholarship to go into freshman year, that will not change. It will not go up. It will not go down. What continuing scholarships are additional scholarships. Basically, they're just called something else, but it's all scholarship money, so it's all the same thing. You want to ask them, based on my program or based on the student's program, if they make the dean's list, or if they do well academically, or is there any other scholarships available at your college? The admissions office, the reason you're calling admissions, even though financial aid will be handling that continuing scholarship, is because you want to know beforehand if we do well academically or do something community service-wise or whatever it may be, that yes, there's more money there available for you. At that point in time, after you get information from the admissions office, then you want to contact the financial aid office and ask them, when are the deadlines to fill out the additional forms for continuing scholarships for my student? Because you want to make sure not to miss the deadlines. This is the odd thing. Not every school offers scholarships for continuing students, but the ones that do have deadlines, as well as they have additional forms that are required. So your student could technically make the dean's list all 4 years of college, not get any scholarship money because you guys didn't do one form, one-page document, basically. This has happened all the time. This is why you want to ask the admissions office, are these funds available? And if yes, how do we get them? They're all going to say the same thing. It's done through the financial aid office, but it's good to know from them, from an information point of view, that yes, these things are available. In addition to what's available at the college level, i.e. the admissions financial aid office, you want to also utilize the websites I have down below, the additional resources. CapX, FastWeb, and FinAid, these are the top 3 scholarship search websites I like the most. Okay, I also have a video on the top 5 scholarship searches on the YouTube channel. So if you want more information about them, once again, just go on the YouTube channel. But CapEx, FastWeb, and FinAid, these are the three largest scholarship searches in the world. There is a lot more competition here, obviously, but there are scholarships from as early as 6th grade all the way up into PhD grad level schooling. So you can get scholarships almost all the time. So for me, you always want to be looking. We had one quick question that's popped up. The question is, are there any origination fees on the private lenders? And the answer is no. Private lenders don't require any origination fees. It's just the federal and state loans that have the origination fees. This is why, once again, if you want the loan list, guys, just email me. I just send it to everybody. Because everyone always asks, Ed, can you help us with the loan stuff? There's nothing for me to help you. It's just, here's the top 5 guys. Just go see who gives you the best rate, because your credit score is a credit score. I can't help you guys with that stuff. Everything else I help out with. I tell families all the time, coming to me for loan help is just complete waste of time. I'll give you the lenders. It's easy enough for me to do. That being said, let's talk about college costs moving forward. Now, right off the bat, if families, i.e. the parents I'm talking to about here, have not gone to this website here, collegeboard.org, you're doing yourself a disservice. The first thing you want to do for parents going forward is, on this website here provides a wealth of information. On the College Board site, right here on the top right, you're able to basically pop in any school's name in the search bar and go to their cost of attendance, go to their financial stuff, go to their scholarship stuff. Just here alone, once you click on the paying link you see on the left here, for every single college, the wealth of information this provides, this website, is unbelievable. It breaks down how much a college costs, transportation costs, book costs, miscellaneous costs. It also tells you, does the school offer scholarships? Does it not offer scholarships? What kind of scholarships are available? It provides you how generous its colleges are. This is the starting point for any student, any parent looking for financial information on any college, to be honest with you. So if we're looking for future costs, this is one of the first places I want to go. In addition, College Board is actually one of the places that has most, if not all, the net price calculators. So what are net price calculators? Well, the U.S. Department of Education also has a great website. Down below is the link, collegecost.ed.gov/net price. This here is the best place to go, because if you type in any school's name here, it will show you that school's net price calculator. For those who don't know what the net price calculator is, it basically shows you what the college costs and also considers what you can pay. So it shows you specifically for that college what you would be paying based on your financial situation. It's kind of like doing the financial aid forms in hyperspeed, but you're only answering like 15 questions, unlike doing the financial aid forms, which in some cases are hundreds of questions. So this is one of the places I'd be looking if I'm looking to do future cost estimates. Once you know the net price calculator stuff, once you've done the College Board stuff, once you know the cost of the school, not just this year, but also in future years going forward, you can always estimate basically that schools will rise in price between 3 to 5%. That's generally historically the number, 3 to 5%. So you can kind of graft your way through figuring out, do we have enough college savings? Will we have to take out more loans? When do we have to take out more loans? Kind of getting a game plan going over the course of the next 4 years rather than just 1 year. Your goal throughout this whole process is to kind of keep gathering information and putting everything together. Okay, give me 1 second here. I have a question just popped up. Let me just cut this screen out 1 second. And by the way, just need to do this because you have a lot of questions coming in. I just want to make sure. Good question. The question is, do U.S. lenders provide assistance for schools outside the domestic U.S.? And the answer is yes. If you're looking to go to McGill, if you're looking to go to King's, if you're looking to go to Vancouver, if you're looking to go to any accredited program, the student loan lenders will provide assistance. It's got to be an accredited program, but they do provide assistance for any school in the world. Let's put it that way, okay? That being said, let's jump on. Whoa, there we go. Let's talk about the next topic here, which is obviously a big thing for some of the families you're watching, wondering what's happening now because I've been waitlisted or deferred. And the first thing we have to realize is we have to define what the difference is between being waitlisted or deferred. Now, typically if you're waitlisted, it basically means you have to wait to see after May 1st, after the deposit day, what spots are available. Now, being deferred is different. If you're deferred, that typically means one of two things. Okay, the two things are very simple. First deferment means you did early action or early decision of some kind, ED1, ED2, restricted. I'm not going to get into that because we're going to be here for half an hour, but the early stuff. And they said to you, we like your application, but we want to see more from you. So we're going to push you in a regular pool. That's the first level of deferment. Second level of deferment is the college basically just says to you, we like your application, so you're a regular applicant, We like your application, but we'd like to see for you to be a matriculated student here to come on in as a regular student, your first half grades or another test score or something like that. That's what they want to see. Now, in today's admissions environment, good, bad, or indifferent, if you're waitlisted, especially for a higher tier, more difficult school to get into, good, bad, or indifferent, I hate to be the person to say this to you, but the game is kind of over. It just is. I know I'm recording this. Usually, I'm always candid when I do these things. It's for parents have talked to me or have seen my videos. I always give you the straight answer. The reality is this year, every school almost across the board has seen record admissions numbers. I mean, New York University, NYU received over 100,000 applications. Now, this is the problem for the students who've been waitlisted, especially the higher tier schools. Like, to give an example, Princeton, there's sometimes decades that go by, these like 10, 15, 20 years before Princeton takes somebody off the wait list. Okay, so for the higher tier schools, it's almost impossible. And this year, it's impossible for this reason. That's why I have highlighted the game's over, because you have to factor a few things in. Number one, record number of applicants. That's number one. Number two, the students who deferred going to college for that 1 year because of COVID. So you have students on the wait list, technically deferred students who've already been accepted, who are ahead of you. You have the students who've already been accepted, they're ahead of you. So you have two lines of students ahead of you, record numbers. Unfortunately, start looking at your second choice because waitlisted, it's very difficult to kind of move forward from there. Okay, I'm going to explain the appeal process for admissions in a moment, but it's very difficult if you've been waitlisted. If you've been deferred, you're still in the game. Now, there's always the going back and forth scenario of should we call, should we not call, should we email, so on and so forth. This is kind of the rule for me. If you go on the school's admissions website, well, first off, if you haven't spoken to the student's admissions rep at that college, now is not the time to start trying to start the relationship because you're kind of already way behind the ball, okay? Now, that being said, if you are looking to call someone admissions, the local rep from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, whatever state you want to be in, this is the way to look at it. If you go on the admissions website and you look up your admissions rep and you can't find any contact information, no email, no phone number, no nothing, that means that school does not, under any circumstances, want you to randomly call them up, randomly email them. That's not what they want you to do. Those things will not help your cause. Before COVID, it helped your cause. But first, you also had a relationship with that person. You already knew their phone number. You already knew their email. You had spoken to them various times. You got an open houses, college fairs. They knew who you were. Now, everyone's emailing everyone. So that's not going to help your cause. It's one of those things where send in the first half grades, maybe send in a publication your student got, an honor or achievement, ask them to put that in your admissions packet. Those are really the last things you can do to help your cause if you're deferred, okay? That being said, let's talk about if you've been rejected, just outright, no, not gonna happen. There's a few things you can do. And right off the bat, as I mentioned before, record numbers of students apply this year. The schools did increase their acceptance yield, but nowhere near the amount of applicants that had coming in. And in addition to that, you also had deferred students. Hit the factors. There's so many factors working against you. But let's just say you want to go back in there and say, look, can you give me a reconsideration, a look at my application, which is possible. Most schools will say no, by the way, right off the bat, because it's just too many applicants right now. If they say yes, it's a very small chance you're going to get accepted. There are some other ways to kind of go around the rejection, though. Right off the bat, you can ask the admissions office, would it be possible for my student to attend as a non-matriculated student? Well, that basically means you're not going to get any financial aid. You're probably not going to be offered housing. So, and you're also going to be limited to the amount of classes you can take because they're not going to allow a non-matriculated student, a not actual student, to be able to go basically just all 4 years and be done with the college. They're not going to do that. Non-matriculated student, if they give you the option to be able to do that, basically means your student is on probation. They do well, they'll give them a consideration of basically accepting them to the college. But it's very rare. In 23 years of doing this, I've helped maybe 3 families do this. And I'm talking about I've helped hundreds of thousands of families. So it's extremely rare. And under the conditions of admissions this year, I don't think it's going to happen, to be honest with you. So you almost have to basically let it go. Which brings us to, you should find the next choice. So if the first choice school didn't accept you, go to the next choice. Then what I tell students is this. I tell every student this, by the way. If you got rejected from your top choice, you got 2-3 days. You can be as pissed off as you want. You can yell, scream, you can hate everybody, whatever you want to call it, so on and so forth. Not hate, but everyone understands what I mean. Your student can be annoyed for 48 hours, 72. That's what I tell your student. Whether I'm dealing with a valedictorian, whether I'm dealing with the worst case, GPA I've ever seen in my life, whatever it is. I tell a student, you have 3 days to be annoyed. You can be as mad as you want. You can yell at everybody, and so on and so forth. After 3 days, it's over. Because you being annoyed at this college not accepting you is not helping your cause. You have to move on to the next choice. Figure out what your next choice is. And then I tell students, the door is not closed. First thing I'm doing after the 72 hours of being annoyed, and choosing another school direction or considering another school direction is, I'm calling the school that has rejected me, the school I maybe wanted to go to, dream school, everything else. I'm calling the school's admissions rep, the transfer person, who handles all transfers at your college. And I'm introducing myself to them. I want to know, hi, my name is Ed. I wasn't accepted to your school this year, but still want to give it a shot next year as a transfer student. Which classes should I take? What GPAs do you typically take in? Do you require me still sending in my high school transcript based on how many credits I get? Do you still want my SAT, ACTs? I'm basically asking this person all these questions, and I'm essentially emailing them updates, information, asking the questions every 2 to 3 months. Why am I doing this? Is to build a rapport, build a relationship with that person. So when and if I decide to transfer a year from now, a semester from now, 2 years from now, this person knows who I am and what I've been doing. And the reason I'm doing this is because if that's your dream school, and most all schools transfer admissions rep is one person. If I'm friendly with that person and there's one spot open and there's 10 kids, but this guy loves me because I've been talking to him for 2 years straight, every transfer day I'm there, every information I can get from him, I'm asking him, I'm going to get in. And that's the way you kind of, you can't get into the front door kind of through the window scenario. That's the way you do it. Because transferring has also become very competitive, unfortunately. Okay. Let me see here. Now let's talk about the legal forms you want to get done with everything going on. Okay. I'm going to hold off on the questions, guys, for 1 minute here. A lot of questions coming in. I literally have like 4 slides and we're done, guys. So I'll answer all your questions at the end. These 2 forms here you need to get done once your student has decided what school they want to go to. First, let's start on the health side, the HIPAA. Now, essentially, when your student enters college, most of them will be turning 18, which means they're adults, i.e. they'll always be your kids, but reality, legally, you have no access to anything unless you get certain forms completed. Right off the bat, I'm asking to speak with the nurse's office or the health station, whatever they have at school. Every school has a different name for it. And I'm asking them, if something were to happen and I need to make a decision, what forms do you need here? They're going to say HIPAA right off the bat. But they may also say medical resource forms, power of attorney, medical form, a few other things. So right off the bat, as a parent, I want to get all the health stuff done to make sure my student is covered in case something happens to them. I have the power to be able to provide them assistance. Number 2, you want to ask the school's nursing station, health station, whatever you call it, where's the local hospital? Where do all the kids go if something goes wrong? You want to call that place and speak to their information desk and ask them, something goes wrong, my student needs to go there. What forms do I need to fill out for you guys? They're going to say the same thing. HIPAA, medical release forms, so on and so forth. It's best to have all the stuff ready to go just in case something goes wrong. Because there's a reason we pay for insurance. It's not because we want to get the big payout. It's just in case something goes wrong. We want to be able to be covered. That's why you want to make sure that you always have the HIPAA forms completed, ready to go, just in case something happens at the college, just in case. In addition to the HIPAA forms, you also want to make sure the insurance that you're dealing with. You want to call them up and ask them, my student's going to X, Y, and Z college next year. Are we covered? Totally covered. If I need surgery, are we covered? They need some kind of medical device, are we covered? Am I covered across the board here, or do I need something in addition to what we have because my student is leaving the state they may be residing in? In addition to all that, there's a second legal form you need to get done, which is also done through the college, typically through the records office, also known as a bursar's office, usually where you pay the bill. It's called the FERPA form, the one at the bottom down there. The FERPA form allows you to have access to your students' information, all of it. Not the health stuff, but everything else. The academic stuff, classes taken, everything else. The financial stuff, you also want your student to sign off on the FERPA form. So 2 legal forms we need to get done before students go off to college. Number 1, the HIPAA stuff. So we're covered medically in case anything happens, good, bad, or different. Remember, this is an insurance policy. We're not hoping this thing happens, but we get insurance for a certain reason to cover ourselves. HIPAA needs to be done. Number 2, the FERPA form. To right off the bat, know what's going on, academic with their student, financially with their student, everything in there. I also have a video on both these forms. There's actually 2 other forms too, but they cover these as well. But once again, YouTube channel, I go way in depth in these forms. And once again, my videos are like 7-8 minutes long. So I say way in depth, but I mean, as in-depth as you can get in 7 or 8 minutes, but I'm not going to spend 20 minutes on each one of these slides here. Unfortunately, if I did, you guys would be here for 3 days. That being said, if you guys have already been to our presentations, you realize that I have a monthly newsletter that goes out every month telling you what you need to do. If you want the monthly newsletter, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to give you guys the email. If you haven't already been getting a new monthly newsletter, just email me saying, Ed, can you send me the monthly newsletter? My student is in X, Y, and Z school and the grade level, because every newsletter I send out is grade specific. I have grade level newsletters for seniors, for juniors, etc. That being said, this all comes down to a family decision. And what I mean by a family decision is you guys need to be talking. Now, you may not have been discussing what schools you can go to, can't go to, costs, everything else, but you need to be doing this. College will be the second most expensive item that families take care of, other than the house, typically, in the lifespan, let's call it, of the student, leaving the house and everything else. So you need to be talking. If your student says to you, I want to go to Hawaii, they get accepted to Hawaii, they get a good financial aid package, but you don't want your son or daughter going to Hawaii, you can tell your son or daughter, it's great you got in, but you probably should have said this before, but I don't want you being that far. Or if you have any issues with, the distance or the cost, you need to have these discussions. That being said, as the parent, whether you believe it or not, they are listening. You might just think they're hearing you and just one ear out the other. They're not, quantifying what you're saying. But as a parent, you are there to basically shepherd them through this process, in and out with the least amount of debt as possible. That's typically the goal. If you watch any of my videos, the goal is always minimize the debt, okay? That being said, thank you guys for jumping on board today. And once again, here's my contact information. If you want the top 5 loans, as far as the top 5 lenders based on interest rates and terms, you can basically just email me in June. I'll send it out to you. Also, if you have any questions, you can always just call me. That's actually my cell phone number. If you watch my other videos, I guess this whole year's been Zoom. So if you've been to other presentations, that's my cell phone number. So you can also text me, which is actually the fastest way to get a hold of me, is text, email, then phone call. I typically don't answer the phone because I get inundated with text messages to begin with. But other than that, I appreciate everyone for watching.